Good afternoon, everybody, or good evening, or good morning. Whatever applies to you as you tune into this edition of the Tyler Werner Show, right here on the YouTube channel / Facebook page. Kind of a bye-week edition as we head into, of course, Week 9 in the NFL. No Eagles action this past week. On their bye week, of course. And they're coming out to play the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas this week. A game that must be won, essentially. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Especially after coming out flat against the Cowboys in Week 2. Of course, that wasn't... And boy, what do you know? That was the last time the Dallas Cowboys won a game, certainly. But... all kidding aside, we're not here to, joke too much about that. Because obviously the Eagles, the Eagles, they knocked Tony Romo out until Tony Romo even comes back, which still is maybe a few weeks away. But the bottom line is, this Eagles team cannot afford to lose to the Dallas Cowboys. They cannot afford to lose and go to 3-5. That's the bottom line. I mean, they had chances, obviously, to win that Carolina Panthers game or whatnot. And the defense, when the defense creates 3 turnovers, and the kind of turnover, you gotta be able to capitalize on that. And obviously, the offense has been the main point of criticism this season. It's been a disappointment overall. And it's been week to week with Sam Bradford, with the running game, with the wide receivers. And it's just, it's just a mess, really, on offense for the most part. And it's been week to week with Chip Kelly, too. And, what did Chip Kelly really have to say this week? Coming off of the bye and everything. Well, let me we'll play a little sample. We'll call it, in the matter of a few seconds, a Chip Kelly press conference summed up in just the matter of a few seconds. For instance, here's Chip's thoughts on Sam Bradford when he addressed the media coming out of the bye week.
So, what were your takeaways from evaluating Sam? And did you see him trending in?
I think Sam's done a nice job.
Anything further into that about what your takeaways were?
Done a good job. Nice job. Good job.
All right, so there you go. Essentially, there's a Chip Kelly press conference summed up in the matter of a few seconds. As far as Sam's done a good job. Can you? Of course, beat reporter Tim McManus asking that question. Can you elaborate a little? I think he's done a nice job. Yeah.
Was that like a wise ass comment?
So just in case anyone was, maybe open for a little something, that's kind of the story of every Chip Kelly press conference. And coming out of the bye, essentially, that's what Chip Kelly and his snarkiness, as always, and I guess what else do you expect? But see, the problem is, Sam Bradford, he hasn't been doing a nice job, really. When you got him throwing already, at this point in the season, 4 interceptions in the end zone, that's not to mention other silly interceptions that he's thrown and whatnot. When he is one of the, I believe, has a lot of stats point that he has the lowest QBR in the league, or if not one of the lowest. I forget, but there's stats out there like worst third down completion percentage and thus far in the season, and this and that. We don't need to go through them, but all you have to do is watch most of the games, and I think you'll be able to tell. at this point in the season, there's no more excuses, really, for anything. You can't. Everything's out the rest of it here on out. That's the bottom line. The Eagles are 3-4. The Giants are 4-4, and of course the Cowboys are 2-5. You know, people joked this past week that the Eagles didn't even play, but it's almost as if they won because both the Cowboys and the Giants lost. Yeah, I mean that's great and all, but still, the Eagles, there's more all that goes out the window if the Eagles lose this weekend. That's one thing, and they have to obviously keep pace with the New York Giants. Interestingly enough, the Eagles say down the peak here they're 7-8 or 8-7, very likely scenario, and same with the Giants. That last game of the season, the Philadelphia Eagles versus the New York Giants, could very well decide the division. Whether it comes down to, I mean, obviously, records. Whether will they finish with the same record, or would that game maybe push the Eagles one game ahead or one game behind this way or one way or the other? Division records, what happens there? Because obviously if the Eagles lose that to the Giants, they split, and then what about the division record? What about the conference record? And comes down to multiple tiebreakers. So obviously that rematch down the road between the Eagles and Giants, week 17, could very well decide the season. But obviously coming out of the bye week now, the Eagles just got done playing Carolina 2 weeks ago, however you want to look at it. And believe it or not, it's been almost 2 weeks since the Eagles, played, of course, last. And surely enough, it's been that long. Well, the Saturday before that Eagles game, that was the last time the Flyers even won a hockey game in this town. So oh my God! And I guess let's not even get started with the 76ers this season, and perhaps what may be one of the worst NBA teams out there in history. But barring Jahlil Okafor and Nerlens Noel, but just round 3 in the tankathon. That is the Philadelphia 76ers regime. But again, Flyers, I mean, that right now, that game, actually there's a game going on right now as you're tuning in, well, as I'm speaking on this podcast. Maybe that ends right now, as far as the Flyers last winning a game before, the Saturday before the Eagles lost to Carolina. So obviously it's time the Eagles turn some things around here, because certainly the Flyers in recent weeks and the Sixers have been doing too good of a job of that. So it is, I don't care what's going on in Dallas, and the Eagles got to win this game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. After coming out flat, especially week 2 against the Cowboys at Philadelphia, and again, just not mounting any offense whatsoever. Now, of course, Chip Kelly was asked in the press conference, I guess, whether he enjoys preparing, or I don't know, if it's nice to have off that week, and mentally, and this and that.
You gotta give you a few days to rest.
And Chip Kelly himself said, no, I'd rather not, it gets you out of your rhythm. I'd rather keep training or whatever. So, having said that, surely enough, Chip Kelly, with this bye week, hopefully he's really been able to evaluate thus far the 3-4 Philadelphia Eagles in this season. Because we can point out how Bradford's been maybe underachieving. the running game's been up and down, and Ryan Matthews not getting as many carries as the wide receivers dropping footballs and just being inadequate. We could say all we want, but at the end of the day, Chip Kelly is calling plays. He's calling smoke screens on 3rd and 9 to Josh Huff that only end up losing yardage. And we can just, point out several times where Chip Kelly's coaching this year in game has definitely kind of shot the Eagles in the foot. Now, maybe the Eagles, they could be more dominant, maybe not be in some of the situations that they've been in. But again, the way they seemingly constantly come out flat in the first half on offense, it seems like back-to-back 3 and outs are the story of every first quarter this season for the Philadelphia Eagles. And that's on Chip Kelly more than anybody. I mean, getting this team prepared. Now, the Cowboys, since getting Jeff Hardy back, Jeff Hardy.
And no, I wasn't watching wrestling.
Greg Hardy. My apologies. Greg Hardy. I just threw out a wrestling name there. For those who don't know, I'm sure many people out there know who or have heard of Jeff Hardy. Greg Hardy, that is. Obviously he's. I don't know. The Cowboys, Jerry Jones is calling him a leader on the D. The point is, it seems like the Eagles are like switching Matt Tobin with Lane Johnson in the tackle positions this week. That's what it's sounding like they're going to do to try and... Because obviously Jason Peters, they're not sure about him at left tackle, whether he's going to play or not, but it certainly would help if sooner, Jason Peters get well soon. But to get on Greg Hardy, it's like they're moving Lane Johnson. It sounds like they might move Lane Johnson over. We'll see. But, the guy, Greg Hardy's an animal. That's the bottom line. At the end of that's what the Eagles got to worry about. And the Cowboys, I guess they got to worry about Greg Hardy, slamming down clipboards out of their special teams coach and whatever else he does on the sidelines and arguing with Dez Bryant or whatever. I don't know, but credit to the Cowboys defense, I guess, for even keeping them in that game last week against the Seattle Seahawks and giving them good field position at times where Matt Castle just couldn't really do anything. Yeah, Dez Bryant was back. Maybe Dez isn't fully healthy yet. And obviously when Matt Castle's throwing to him instead of Tony Romo, I guess, what do you expect? The bottom line here is with this game against the Cowboys, the Eagles' defense should be able to handle the Cowboys. Whether Dez is fully healthy or not, obviously, Byron Maxwell, they got to still key on Dez Bryant, without question. And make sure it's not a, week one kind of scenario where Byron Maxwell is getting beat all day by Julio Jones, and it took him until the second half for him to get some help, I guess, safety help, and instead of expecting Byron Maxwell to be a shutdown corner that he's not. But at least in recent weeks, he's been a little more reliable. Except last week, that tackle at the goal line where it's like 3 or 4 Eagles couldn't tackle one guy, and it was just embarrassing there. But other than that, Byron Maxwell has been better as of late. It's been the safety. The safeties have been the standout. I mean, they've, Walter Thurman and Malcolm Jenkins, they've been pretty solid this year, helping out the secondary and without question. So hopefully they can. I mean, Keon Des Bryant, and then the Eagles' defense, they should have no trouble otherwise. Matt Castle, I mean, he just saw what he did against Seattle. They couldn't even get more than 100 passing yards. Then again, I mean, even Aaron Rodgers couldn't get over against the Denver Broncos and their ferocious defense last week. But I guess that's a little beside the point.
5 letters here.
Yeah, we'll get off of that. But the point is, the Eagles, they can't offensively. They can't come out flat. They gotta go down there and win this game. Sort of like last Thanksgiving. Although Tony Romo was playing, of course, and whatnot. But the bottom line is here, there's no excuses. No excuses. I mean, again, I just kind of laid it. I mean, the Eagles' defense should do a fine job here. They'll probably create some turnovers as they normally do, especially with Matt Castle back there under center. The running game, I mean, the Eagles should be fine stopping the Dallas Cowboys. And, I mean, again, at the end of the day, I really think it's whether or not the Eagles offensively even just come out okay. I would hope. I mean, there's not really a complete game that this Eagles offense has played all season. The New Orleans Saints may be the closest thing to that, when, had it not been for a couple red zone and end zone interceptions thrown by Sam Bradford, they would have come out and really lit up the scoreboard, but that didn't happen. So, some awkward beeping going on in the background. I think there's a new washing machine, but anyhow, the Eagles should come out and win this. It's the bottom line. If they don't, then I guess kiss the season goodbye. That's the bottom line. It's a revenge game for the Eagles. Must win at Dallas. That's the bottom line. Matt Castle under center. If you're... Clearly, this Dallas Cowboys team is struggling without Tony Romo. And even if they had Tony Romo, I mean, I don't think they're quite at the level they were at last year, even if they had Tony Romo back. And I mean, come on, it just, the Eagles got to win this game. I don't know what more else to say. If they don't, the next week you're gonna hear. I mean, we'll probably come in with taps. But, well, then again, I mean, I guess who knows at the end of the day, but with the way this division is, but still, I just be horribly disappointed, as I think many Eagles fans would be, if the Eagles lose to this Cowboys team. That's the bottom line. This Cowboys team has lost 5 straight since being in disarray without their quarterback, and I can't really beat it to death. What we can do, coming out of the bye, is we got 9 games left here for the Philadelphia Eagles season. The outlook. What is the outlook? I mean, I think tops here, the Eagles can finish 9-7. We go down the schedule here, and I want to go down. I also want to go down the Giants' schedule as well, because, and even maybe the Cowboys. I don't know, but just to see where the Eagles and Giants may finish up. Now, obviously, We've done this exercise before the season started. And obviously things kind of change now that we're in mid-season. The Lions, obviously, for instance, are a prime example of from, a possible playoff team, wild card team of last year, to being at the bottom of the NFL overall. So, going down here, the Eagles win on Sunday. They must win. If they don't, then there's going to be a barrage of anger in the Delaware Valley next week. We'll put it that way. Now, okay, they're hosting two Florida teams then. After that, obviously, the Miami Dolphins and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Dolphins, the Eagles can. I would think maybe they'll split here. And now the reason being, they beat the Cowboys, Dolphins, Buccaneers, Lions. I don't know if this Eagles team, at least thus far, going off of the way they're up and down, I don't know if they're good enough, if they're consistent enough, reliable enough, that they're going to win 4 in a row. Even though they're all winnable games for the Eagles, teams that maybe they're better than, they're bound to maybe lay a clunker against maybe the Buccaneers, maybe the Dolphins. We'll see. It's unfortunate. But I guess that's where we're at here. So, all right, they beat the Cowboys. They're at 4-4. We'll just say they beat the Dolphins. They ride high off that. They're 5-4. And then the Buccaneers clunker, 5-5. Thanksgiving, they beat the Lions. They're at 6-5. The Patriots, that's a loss at New England. It'll be December, and playoff pushing and whatnot.
To me, those balls are perfect.
And yeah, just Tom Brady. Yeah, loss. That would put him at 6-6. Then a sandwich game. They host the Buffalo Bills, who have, seems like they're up and down with injuries this year, and they're a bit of an injury bug. LaShawn McCoy making his return to Lincoln Financial Field, but I think the Eagles will handle. This is a game between the Patriots and the Cardinals. The Eagles win this game. The Bills, they had a promising start to the season, but just not consistent enough. And I just not, I guess, loaded enough to, especially that offensive line, to, I guess, beat the Eagles. So the Eagles win that. They're at 7-6. The Cardinals, once upon a time, I had the Eagles winning this game. But I don't, at this point, I don't know. The Cardinals are having a pretty good, then they have a game here and there where they're just not as good. But if you had to, I guess, ask me, they'll probably lose that game. If you ask me today, with the way this Eagles team is right now, most recently, just the scope of who they are right now, probably lose. 7-7, hosting the Redskins You got to win that game. Revenge situation, 8-7 at the New York Giants. Remember what I said earlier? This game probably decide the division. The Eagles swept the Giants last year, and of course they beat them easily at home this past year. Whether it's a matchup issue or whether it's maybe the Eagles are due for a loss against the Giants, revenge situation, may decide the division. I may have to go with a loss here with the current state of this Eagles team. Maybe there's room for improvement for this Eagles team, but unless Chip Kelly gets his act together, especially with how he comes out, game planning, how it seems to be a regularity here with the Eagles coming out flat in the first half, offensively especially. Whether maybe Bradford gets his act together a little more. Whether DeMarco Murray is, maybe becomes fully healthy. By the way, what if Sam Bradford goes down? Maybe they bring maybe Mark Sanchez will have to make a return here. I don't know, but some adjustments have to be made, obviously. The Eagles right now, I see an 8-8 finish. With the way, just projecting now, that could change. Maybe they beat the Cowboys. Maybe they go down and manhandle the Cowboys. Who knows? Maybe they manhandle the Dolphins at home then. Maybe they're starting to put together more complete wins, more complete games. Even though, that wouldn't be saying much against, Cowboys without Tony Romo and the Miami Dolphins, who lost, maybe their best defensive player, Cameron Wake, for the rest of the season due to a torn Achilles. Now, if they beat the Buccaneers after that, maybe they win 3 straight, then maybe we're talking, obviously. Then we're talking 9-7 finish. Because they got the Lions. They got to beat the Lions at this point. And then after that, then that probably will mean that they have improved. Let's look at the Giants. Let's go to their schedule. Since I guess I just said at this point, the state of this the way the Eagles are playing, 8-8 finish. Well, let's look at the Giants' schedule. The Giants, they go to Tampa Bay this Sunday. Tampa Bay, they're not playing too bad lately. I don't know. That's a possible win for the Buccaneers. I don't know. But then they host the New England Patriots after that, and I gotta think the Patriots will not. Tom Brady will probably run rampant on that, or maybe throw rampant on that defense.
To me, those balls are perfect.
People could say what they want about, whenever Tom Brady plays in the Super Bowl against Eli Manning, he loses. But in this regular season situation here, that's a loss for the New York Giants. You know what? I'll give them this. I'll give them that they beat the Buccaneers and they lose to the Patriots the next week. I think that's fair. And then they're at 5-5. So then, what do they got? They got at the Redskins. Well, they got their bye week, and then they got the Redskins. They'll probably, I'll give them a win there, 6-5. Then they host the New York Jets, who are kind of sputtering a little bit right now. And after that, they have at Miami. So I'll say they split. I see them winning I see them losing one of those games. So that would bring them to 7-6. And then they got the Carolina Panthers, who are going to be in playoff mode, maybe trying to lock up the division. Well, we'll see how the Atlanta Falcons, how they pan out and as far as that goes. But I mean, aiming to finish the season strong and perhaps clinch a first round bye, get towards that home field advantage territory, win for the Panthers. Say that puts the Giants at 7-7. Then the next week they got at the Minnesota Vikings, who are having a pretty decent season themselves, sitting at 5-2 right now. At Minnesota after a tough game against the Panthers, tough defense. That might be another loss for the Giants at 7-8, and then that brings us to a desperate situation where they got to try to save their season, perhaps. Either way you look at it, depending on what the Eagles do, of course, in Week 16 versus the Redskins. And basically just a desperate situation for the Giants. The Giants must win against the Eagles. And then that brings them to 8-8. Alright? So we just went through that. So both the Eagles and the Giants finish 8-8, which I think it'll be probably impossible for the Cowboys, provided they lose to the Eagles this week and are at 2-6. Probably impossible, I would say, for whenever Tony Romo comes back, for them to finish better than 7-9. So that would bring things. So, okay, they would split. The Giants, let's see here. They lost to the Cowboys the first time around. And then they beat the Cowboys the second time around. They beat the Redskins. Well, that's interesting then. I gave the Giants a win there. I didn't remember what the result of that first game was. It could be a revenge situation, now that I think about it, for the Redskins. So maybe what happens, I don't remember what I said earlier, but maybe they beat the Jets, maybe they beat the Dolphins, but that Redskins game, yeah, maybe they beat the Buccaneers before the Patriots. I mean, now that I think about it, that might be a desperate situation for the Redskins. Although, Giants coming off a bye week, that's tough to call. It's at Washington. Yeah, that's. I didn't even look at that earlier. That's a tough thing to call. And that could shake up the division picture a little bit as well. And essentially, I mean, the Eagles and the Giants could finish with essentially the same division record. And we'll have split with everybody. Both teams. That's interesting. So that very well could be, again, that game is so important now. That last game between the Eagles and the Giants. It may decide everything. Maybe the Giants, they beat the Redskins twice. And the Eagles in the last game of the season. And then both teams finish 8-8. But then maybe the Giants have the better division record. And ladies and gentlemen, the Eagles could miss the playoffs. Then again, 8-8. That typically is not a record that is a playoff record to begin with. But you get the point. 8-8 is to be safe. You got to win 9 games to win this division, I think. With the projection of the Giants and possibly the Cowboys, if they, have a miraculous finish. But I don't know if they're that capable of doing that. I think that's, kind of what we're looking at here. Speaking of the Cowboys, let me just for fun, let's see if we bring up the rest of their schedule. I'm hearing that they, maybe in a couple weeks, they get Tony Romo back. Maybe for Thanksgiving is what I'm hearing. I don't know. I mean, that's, I guess, remains to be seen. But all right, so they lose to the Eagles this week, puts them at 2-6. At Buccaneers, and then at Dolphins. By the way, all right, so there's a chance they could beat Tampa Bay. There's a chance they could beat the Dolphins. But chances are they lose one of those games without Romo. Thanksgiving, believe it or not, they host the Carolina Panthers this year. Let's talk about that's a...
Oh, man!
If Tony Romo makes his return against that in that game, that's interesting. But that is not a favorable game for the Dallas Cowboys. The Panthers and that defense and their ability to run the ball. I mean, if you look at Cam Newton's stats, he hasn't been sharp by any stretch of the by any means. Actually, if you look at his QBR, he's actually been kind of mediocre. He's actually been statistically, with quarterback ratings and whatnot, completion percentage and this and that, he's actually been a slight notch below Colin Kaepernick. A lot of people, kind of say the two are pretty similar. Their ability to run the read option and everything, build, whatever. But that Panthers they're winning on the ground. They're winning defensively. I mean, we kind of saw that against the Philadelphia Eagles. So, all right, they got that. They also have to play at Lambeau Field against the Green Bay Packers in December. Not a favorable situation for the Cowboys. So, they lose to the Eagles, Panthers, Packers. I mean, all right, that's at least 8 losses right there. Either against the Buccaneers or the Dolphins, they lose one of those until they get Romo back. 7-9 at best. They got at Washington, hosting the New York Jets, at the Buffalo Bills, and then hosting the Washington Redskins last game of the season. I mean, maybe they can win those games with Romo back. I don't know, but you get where I'm going with this. It's looking bleak for the Dallas Cowboys, provided they lose to the Philadelphia Eagles this week. And just in general, it's looking bleak for the Dallas Cowboys. Enough said. And the Redskins, the Redskins just aren't good enough. That's the bottom line. So, yeah, the way I look at it, this Eagles team, they have room to improve. Certainly. I mean, I've been saying that for a while now. I mean, wide receiver, they kind of are what they are, I guess. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Nelson Aguilar, maybe he comes back. Maybe that helps them out a little bit, but you get my point when it comes to Riley Cooper and Miles Austin, Jordan Matthews, potato hands this year. And Darren Sproles, recent weeks, he has not really been a factor. Now, he's always, good to return punts and whatnot, but as of late, in the running game and the passing game, he hasn't been quite the wild card weapon that he's been at times this season and last season. Well, earlier this season and last season. So, I mean, Ryan Matthews, DeMarco Murray, kind of leading the day when it comes to carrying the football for the most part. And the passing game, I mean, I don't know. So, it's kind of on Sam Bradford's shoulders here. At least as long as he's healthy and as long as Chip Kelly is saying he's doing a good job or a nice job when it comes to elaborating on whether or not he's done a good job. If that makes any sense. I don't know.
Thanks, guys.
So that's that. I mean, again, the defense, pretty solid overall this season. And, hopefully, Kiko Alonso might be making a return this week. So, more guys in the linebacking rotation. Bit of a help, maybe some help there. Maybe a good playmaker. We'll see how it all pans out. But yeah, I mean, that's at this point right now, 8-8, 9-7 at best for this Eagles team to finish, and that, again, they're gonna have to improve, and that starts with Chip Kelly himself improving. As much as we can say, have excuses for Sam Bradford, or people want to make excuses, guys dropping balls or whatever. At the end of the day, there's no excuse when it comes to Chip Kelly. That's the bottom line. It's on his shoulders here. And, I hate to kind of pull an Andy Reid here, but in many regards, he's got to do a better job. That's the bottom line.
Give me some good questions. Come on.
And that's, going forward here, that's the end of the day, when the Eagles lose, the first person we look at is Chip Kelly. There's other teams you look at, like say recent week, like the Chicago Bears, or sometimes when, Cowboy fans will look at like Tony Romo or something, and or Eli Manning, and like they'll blow a game late or something like that, and they'll look at like he was the reason. Even when that happens, maybe like even with like here in Philly, more than anything, I feel like we're looking at Chip Kelly as the main culprit at the end of the day when it comes to losses. When his offensive system is failing, or just whatever, or his lack of an offensive line is causing all sorts of chaos, or when Ryan Matthews breaks off a 60-plus yard touchdown run, high steps his way in the end zone, and then after that gets one carry the rest of the game as being cautious because of a groin injury. Again, after he just rips off a big touchdown run and high steps his way in the end zone. Things like that, and it just doesn't make sense. And calling pass plays only when Ryan Matthews is in the game. It's like it just doesn't add up. But so the question is, from here on out, will this Eagles team add up the rest of the way? Maybe put together a stronger finish that would turn around the season a little bit. Maybe turn hopes around a little bit for this Eagles franchise going forward. I don't know. There were the trade rumors of, Colin Kaepernick, and who obviously is desperately in need of a change of scenery, but no, for now, that stuff goes on ice. time to see what this Eagles team is made of the rest of the season. That's the bottom line. And I don't know what else more to say about it other than bring on the Dallas Cowboys. Let's bring on the rest of this Eagles season. Let's see. Bring on the post-bye week Philadelphia Eagles. Bring on the Eagles offense that, well, maybe it doesn't have the receiving help maybe it could certainly use right now. Maybe it doesn't have the consistent quarterback play, but it at least needs some kind of bolstering of the play calling and going back to some of the things that have made Chip Kelly mildly successful at times in the NFL so far. Mildly. Facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show. That's the way to get in. To send comments, thoughts, whatever it be. Questions on the Tyler Werner Show Facebook page or YouTube channel or whatever else. And as I look here, what do you know? Flyers lost in overtime. 3-on-3 overtime. You know, what else? I guess what else is new? Flyers lose their 6th straight. I mean, I guess they get a point out of it. What do you know? They already 13 games in, 3 of those are overtime losses. Flyers are 4-6-3. Lose to the Calgary Flames, who are 4-9-1. Disappointing. Flyers have not been so good on this road trip. And that's pretty much the bottom. Next, they go to Winnipeg. They're doing like first it was the Canucks, then the Oilers, the Flames. Now they got the Winnipeg Jets to finish off this road trip. And the Jets, and then they bring it back home against the Colorado Avalanche next Tuesday. So hopefully the Flyers can maybe get back to some winning ways soon, because it's not looking too good for the Flyers right now. And again, hopefully the Eagles can also pull out a win. Well, I say hopefully, but they better. That's the bottom line. They better. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Tyler Werner Show. Stay tuned for the next video, where we'll break down what goes down as I speak about the game today. What goes down between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys? Will the Eagles get to a 500 record? They sure better hope. Well, we all hope that they do.
The champion of game day catering is the official meatball of the Tyler Werner Show, Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs.
We prepare our balls over time, and that's the essence of the preparation.
On top of that, another trademark of Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs is Brady's signature rubbing process.
When I pick balls out, to me, they're perfect. I don't want anyone touching the balls after that. I don't want anyone rubbing them. To me, those balls are perfect.
What is a concern is the texture of the balls, and again, that's the point that Tom hit on hard.
The champion of all game day catering dishes is Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs, the official meatball of the Tyler Werner Show.
What is it about good sex that makes me have to crap? Guess it's all that pumping. Pump and dump.
Pump and dump. Never stop the pumping. Always keep her satisfied. Pump and dump.
You really jarred something loose, Tiger.
I'll have some skirt steak, some brisket, little piece of that New York steak, a couple of them steak fingers, and a burger.
You've known for a long time that you were going to have to get real about fat or stay real fat. It didn't get that way by accident or by some outsider's doing.
Put some macaroni and cheese on there, too. Is there any chicken fried steak left?
Your weight just keeps creeping up or maybe even shooting sky high.
3 slices of pecan pie and 2 cups of coffee.
You have a decision to make. You know it, and so do I.
Yes, all right.
You need prescription diet pills or other diet aids to lose weight.